recorded, so anything you say is for posterity. So be careful.
זה יהיה בסדר גמרי, זה לא שעה ורבע 30.
Hey, just to remind everybody when we go live on.
I think we have to mute because you can hear all kinds of things.
I muted myself. Okay, I'm unmuted now. Hope this is better. Yes, everyone hears me now. Okay, I muted everyone, including me. So that was complicating. Okay, so let's learn. Muted myself. Okay, I'm unmuted now. Ooh, hope this is better. Yes, everyone hears me now. Okay, second. I muted everyone, including me. So that was. I hear myself talking to myself on this. Okay, so let's learn. Okay. Welcome everybody. Let's get underway. We're in the middle of the 15th parak of Sefer Shmuel Bet, obviously. And we're in the midst of the tragic rebellion. For those who were not with us the last few weeks, first of all, welcome and welcome back. Last week's shir is archived. There was no shir the week before owing to technical difficulties. So essentially, you didn't miss anything. And you can catch up other than last week, but that you can catch up on. It's on available online on YouTube, and you're welcome to watch it. So let me just recap very briefly what we spoke about last time. We talked about some more of the psukim in Parak Tetvav, and we also saw the chapter of Tehillim, chapter 3. And if you have a full Tanakh, you want to open up Tehillim chapter 3, and you can sort of read it along. We'll end up back there possibly a little later this morning, depending on how the time runs. But let's say that we have our work cut out for us already on the page, which I'll put up in a moment in Sefer Shmuel Bet. And what we spoke about last time, what we focused on, just again to recap without rehashing the whole thing, is some of the inner process for David HaMelech in terms of trying to make sense of what's happening to him as a person who believes in God and a person who knows he's received a promise from Hashem, both that his line will never lose the kingdom. Malchut Beit David is set, and at the same time, he knows he's going to be punished, and he's being punished. And so things that maybe transcend what he was actually initially told by the Navi were part of that punishment, now have become integrated as, oh, well, this must be part of the punishment of playing out more and more. And I have no recourse but to, you could say, in a certain level, take my lumps. Take my lumps. I have to just kind of live with it. And it's sad and it's terrible, but magiali in some way. And so there's an element of what you could call almost a tziduk hadin, trying to justify the judgment that was meted out against him by Hashem. And yet, when you read chapter 3 of Sefer Tehillim, he's still davening to Hashem, please Hashem, save me, please Hashem, look after me, notice how many enemies I have who are rising up against me, etc., etc. We also saw last time a little bit of the interplay between the you could say the geography of what's going on. Sort of David is leaving Yerushalayim, and we watched actually the video that I took in the winter in Yerushalayim about the topography of Yerushalayim, the valley known as the Kidron Valley, and the way in which David is basically on the mountain facing Yerushalayim, and he's davening about the Har Kodsho that Hashem should send in chapter 3 of Tehillim. Hashem should send the rescue from his mountain, and that mountain is none other than the Har Habayit. And what we'll see today, which again, chapter 15, we're up to verse 16, basically. Although we've read these psukim, we have to read them again to get the context. That's what we're up to. Why is David running away? Sorry, if you haven't joined us ever before or in quite a while, just to remind you, David is running away from a rebellion, a terrible insurrection that starts in Hebron The problem is that the perpetrator of this rebellion, the main rebel, is his own child, Avshalom. Recall a very complicated relationship with Avshalom. Avshalom, who believes that he is the heir to the throne, and we see the beginning of chapter 15 is agitating to sort of position himself as the heir apparent. Avshalom, who also has, on one level, avenged his sister's dishonor and her violation by a rapist. Unfortunately, said rapist is his brother, Amnon. So he's killed Amnon, which means he's killed the son of David, but he's also the son of David. And so these are impossible emotional places to be. The parent who at once is on the side of the aggrieved and the aggressor. So what we'll see now in chapter 15, and I'll pause for questions in a few minutes if it's okay. I want to make some headway. I got some good feedback from last year. We spent a lot of time at the beginning making discussions happen, so we didn't get through the parak at all, and it was bogging us down. I love the comments, and that's why I'm not just making these as recorded videos, but we have interaction. But give me a few minutes, and then let me open it up at that point. So here we are, chapter 15, verse 16. If you're using the Koren full Tanakh, it's page 384, or use any Tanakh that you have Shmuel bet. And we learn here that David has left. Vayetze hamelech v'chol beito beraglav vayazov hamelech et eser nashim pilagshim lishmor habayit. Sort of glossing over this part of it because we're going to come to this much more in detail when something terrible happens that many of you are already aware of, involving the pilagshim, the concubines of David. He leaves them there, oddly enough, lishmor habayit. You can see what he's up to. We talked a lot last week also about why it is that he just retreats from Yerushalayim automatically. What were the political considerations about sticking around in Yerushalayim, even though the rebels were so far located in Hebron? Why was that withdrawal or retreat necessary? I'm not going to rehash it. Look at the shir from last week and the Mekorot from that. But he leaves. We don't know exactly what his Beit HaMerchak is, but it sounds like it's somewhere on the outskirts of Yerushalayim. He's sort of saying goodbye. Now, what's going on? It's almost as if it's a parade, a sad parade, but nonetheless, they're passing before him. And he is counting the people, if you will, who are in front of him. I don't mean the census, but okay, these are the people with me, they're leaving. Variously described as various guards of his, the honor guard. There are various interpretations. We've seen kreti, pleti before, and I'll come back to it in a few minutes. But who that might be, we're not up to it yet. All of the people from Gat. Who are these people? They're people who are with him. Are they Jewish? It's not clear that they're Jewish. Sheish meot ish, asher ba'u v'raglo migat ovrim al pnei hamelech. 600 men who have come, followed him from Gat, and they are now going with him. They're passing by him. Now, what's the significance of passing by him? They're not making an official ceremony. David wants to know who's with me and who's not with me. And here I'm sort of skirting a little bit what I spoke about last week, which is suddenly you don't know who to trust. But the people who are willing to leave town with you to exile themselves, that's probably the low-hanging fruit of the people who are going to remain loyalists as the withdrawal is happening, the retreat from Yerushalayim. So David is standing almost as if it's like viewing stands. Here the people are passing by him. And here we arrive at Pasuk Yud Tet, where one of the particular people who passes by, he has a conversation with, a particularly significant individual. Vayomer HaMelech el Itai Hagiti, Lama telech gam ata itanu, Shuv v'shev im HaMelech, ki nochri ata v'gam gole ata limkomecha. Go back and be with the king. Go back to be with the king, and don't, because you're a foreigner, and you'll also be exiled to your place. Exiled, or you'll wander to your place, and a conversation ensues. Tmo boecha, v'hayom ani acha, imanu lalechet, v'ani holech, al asher ani holech. Shuv v'hashev et achecha imach, chesed ve'emet. You came already very recently, and now I'm telling you, basically, you want me to take you with me, but I'm going the way I'm going. You go back to your brethren with you, take them with you, and that will be itself an act of kindness and of truth the fact that you will go and do that. And Itai is refusing. Again, I'm glossing over who is Itai. That's what we're going to speak on in 2 minutes. But Vayan Itai el HaMelech, Vayomar, Chai Hashem v'chei Adoni HaMelech. He takes an oath in the name of God and the name of the life of the king. Ki bimkom asher yiyeh sham Adoni HaMelech, im lemavet im lechaim, ki sham yiyeh avdecha. It's reminiscent, of course, of another perhaps biblical moment of someone who says, I'm with you in life and in death. All right? It's easy. Yeah. Ruth says this also. I'm with you, just a Naomi. I'm going to live with you. Whether you go, I will go. Whether you sleep, where you sleep, I will sleep. When you die, I die. Where you'll be buried. Right? So it's the same kind of idea. It's an expression of fealty on the part of Itai. I'm not going to go. David Itai, lech va'avor. So, okay, go and pass by. Vayavor Itai agitiv v'chol anashav v'chol ataf asher ito. And they all go together. Notice they're taking their families. Why? Worried about massacre. Got to go. Everybody's leaving. Those people are leaving. Chol haaretz bochim kol gadol v'chol ha'am ovrim v'hamelech over b'nachal Kidron v'chol ha'am ovrim al pnei derech el hamidbar. They're going out to the desert, which then, as now, is a pretty rough place to live. And David is not a stranger to being a desert dweller. The difference is now he's not a man with 400 soldiers. Now you see he's going out with the whole kit and caboodle. He's got the family. He's got all sorts of people. Not his family, but different people are going with families. And we'll pause right there just to focus a little bit on what's transpiring here with Itai Hagiti. So bear with me a few more minutes. Can you just give me 2 more minutes to just go through some of the sources? We have a little more to discuss. Of course, I do want to hear the comments and the discussion. That's why we came, and I didn't just make it, again, a recorded video. The whole point is, even though we're not in person, we should still be able to interact. But let me just gain some ground here. So I'm going to start just by describing this Gemara. You can see it on the screen in front of you. The translation down below, courtesy of Cincino. It's the Masechet Kiddushin. The Mishnah Masechet Kiddushin, toward the end of Masechet, says that an individual who wants to get married to various kinds of people, that this person would have to check into the yuchsin, the genealogy of the people, the families marrying into. This person, the daughter of a Kohen, this story, that's the different things. But there is also a subset of category of people about whom you don't need to check. So we have here in the Mishnah, Rabbi Chanina ben Istignus Omer, Af Mishaya Muchtav Istratia Shalmelech, whoever was actually written down on the rolls of the king's army does not actually have to be investigated. It's like it was some kind of a citizenship card. If you were in the army of the king, then your yuchsin had no problems. That obviously you were Jewish. In order to be entered into the Jewish army, interesting, they made sure you were actually Jewish, and they made sure that you had the right lineage. Rabbi Chanina, that part was not translated by Cincino. So now let's go. Rabbi Chanina ben Antignus, excuse me. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel bechelot shel Beit David. This refers to the officers and the soldiers in the house of David specifically. Amar Rav Yosef, Mikra, what does the pasuk say? V'yachasam, excuse me, batzva b'milchama. They had their genealogy was basically checked out in order to go into the army of Atamai. Why is that? And here we learn why. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav, Kedesh te zichutan uschut avotam misayatan. It was important that their merit and the merit of their forefathers would help them on the battlefield. At a time of battle, it's a time of judgment. One seeks to summon the merit of previous generations. Therefore, you have to be Jewish, i.e., you have to have some kind of yuchsin. It sounds almost like, by the way, it would also similarly exclude proselytes. At least it sounds that way. So the Gemara says, wait a minute. There's a list in Sefer Shmuel of different people who don't sound like they were Jewish. V'ha'ika Tzilik ha'amoni, or Tzelek ha'amoni, the Ammonite named Tzelek. No, my love, Atim Ammon. Didn't he come from Ammon? He's an Ammonite? No. The Yativ ba'Ammon. He dwelt in Ammon. That's where he's from. right? So and so from Brooklyn is not actually a Brooklynite. Is not really actually necessarily not Jewish. Certain religion. Bad example, I know, because you'll say, well, that's a place to live. Okay, so but the same thing is about these things as well. It was more novel for them. Usually, when someone had the name appended to where they came from, it sounded much more like they were part of that nation, because nationhood and religion were bound up one with the other. Where you lived, that was your religion. Obvious. You took on the religion of the place. Came Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people, and that's the idea of what it means that we went into exile, and we showed that we are not a nation or a religion, but we're both. And that absent the national identity, the Jew could be called a Yehudi, connected to their land, even not in their land. Yeah. So there, in other words, and that's revolutionary. In antiquity, you go to a nation, you take on their religion. That's why in the last week's parsha, or one of the parshiot in Achrei Mot, Hashem is reminding the Jewish people, right? Don't do like the Egyptians. Don't do like the Canaanites, because when you arrive, there's going to be a whole religion of the land. Well, there's no such thing as when in Canaan do as Canaanites, right? So why is this person called Tzelek HaAmoni? Oh, but they just lived there. That's a chiddush. More of a chiddush for them, even the days of the Gemara, as it is for us. Va'ika Uriah Hachiti. This question came up a few times. My love da'ati michet. Doesn't that show he came from the nation of Chet, the Chitim, the Hittites? Lo, the Yativ b'Chet. He lived in the territory formerly controlled by Chet. Va'ika Itai Hagiti. That's ours, right? If you're going to say to me, Hachinami diyativ begat, if you're going to say, well, he's a person who just lived in Gat, but he really was Jewish. V'amar Rav Nachman, Itai Hagiti ba ubatla. We have a situation that Itai Hagiti had gone to war with the Jewish people in a previous war, in the days of David. It's back in the previous chapters. They went to a war, and then it describes that David took some of the spoils of war with him when he went back from his war. How did he take some of the spoils of war? Chazal asks. They were idolatrous objects. It says, oh, they were nullified, because we have a principle in halacha that an object that a non-Jewish person used for idolatry can in fact be nullified and then be used by a Jew. However, who can do the nullification? Only one can do the nullification, and that is a non-Jew can do the nullification. A Jew is not able to do the nullification of idolatry. If we maintain that the one who did the nullification was none other than Itai Hagiti, clearly he could not have been Jewish. If you want to read about that war, that section with the war, that was in chapter 10, Shmuel Bet Perek Yud. That whole section there, where we have the war with Ammon. We had that whole section, and the one who was in charge of, according to Chazal, who could have helped the Jewish people to nullify the idolatrous objects that they were going to bring back as spoils of war. That was Itai Hagiti. So you see, he wasn't Jewish, right? So clearly the Gemara is concluding that it seems like really he wasn't Jewish. And then the Gemara adds another piece, which we've seen before and was shocking then, will be shocking now. I'm over here. Amarav. Arba'mayot Yeladim Hayul David. David HaMelech had 400 children. V'kulam b'nei Yifat Toar Hayu. They were all from when he went out to war. They were from the captive women that he took. Remember, the Torah in Parsha Kitetse describes the Parsha of the Eshet Yifat Toar. And Rashi, based on Chazal, says this is a concession to the evil inclination. People understand that at time of war, one of the main moral bounds comes undone. Thou shalt not kill. In wartime, killing is a lot of what's going on. Yet, when it comes to Yifat Toar, don't think that other moral boundaries have completely been loosened, but rather recognize that if you take a woman captive on the battlefield, look in Parsha Kitetse, here are all the responsibilities you have toward her. Effectively, you have to marry her, and if you're not willing to, then you can't keep her, etc. Right? All these discussions, and of course, there are all these moral discussions. We've had these discussions many times before. I'm not going down that road again, but we talked about these 400 for this reason. They were all these people, their haircut was the haircut of non-Jewish people. They had their hair trimmed in front a particular way. It seemed almost like it was a mullet, and they had some kind of long hair in the back, long curls, and they all would ride in these golden, not just chariots. They were carried by these, whatever they call the Empyrean. They were carried by this Necronia, these wagons of gold, and they would go at the helm, at the ahead of all of the actual soldiers of Chilot Beit David. Why? The Hein Balia grow from Shabbat David. These were they were the advanced force. They were the tough people that went ahead in order to strike fear in the hearts of the enemy. They were the psychological warfare. Now, were they psychological warfare because they were tough guys, or were they psychological warfare because they were sent ahead so that the enemy army would say, "Oh my goodness, look at all these children who were born in captivity, and look how good it is for them. They're riding in golden wagons, and they're living the life. Why are we fighting these people? You know, we should join these people. Look how great it is." There's some such thing, right? Now, why do I bring that up here? It's, first of all, appended to the Gemara here. Get back to Itai in a minute. But we know someone very, very well. Let me open up the lines, as they say. We know someone very, very well in this story, who is, in point of fact, very obviously someone with lots and lots and lots of hair. Who might that be?
Avshalom.
Exactly. Avshalom is a very long-haired man. And if you will recall from back when we had these discussions previously, who was it we were discussing? That Avshalom and Tamar, though they were siblings, there was a whole intrigue about how they might have been descended from a woman who was herself an Eshet Yafat Toar, Ma'acha. And that was a huge source of problems. We discussed then, if you recall, back at that time, but I'm just sort of linking it up now, the idea that these children of the Eshet Yafat Toar were nothing but trouble for David, nothing but trouble for the Jewish people, ultimately. Here's what happened. Here's Avshalom. His father, in fact, was David HaMelech. His mother came from this. Look at the psychological damage, the fallout. And then we talked about how Tamar, the idea that they held her at arm's length, etc. They sort of let her in, but she wasn't really worthy. Now, I want to point out something else about this section, and that is the strangeness about the 400 children. 400 children means that David HaMelech siring 400 children, literally, it means he's a very busy, if a virile man, but also it makes him seem incredibly voluptuous, to put it charitably. He's got 400 children, right? And there's a lot of people who are non-contenders for the throne, but on a certain level, they kind of are, and as much as they're still his children. So I wanted to show you as an example. You could take it on face value. There are 400 such children. Look here, there's a commentary. It's an anthology called Daf al-Hadaf, which an anthology is just that. It quotes from various other sources. Here is Rabbi Ruvain Margoliot in his Sefer Machkarim B'Darchei HaTalmud V'Chidotav HaKasha. He has a book. Rav Ruvain Margoliot had a Sefer of analysis and of exploration in the ways of the Talmud and its riddles that are challenging. And he said as follows. He asked the question, how can it be that David HaMelech has literally 400 children from the women who are Yafat Toar? After all, the whole issue of Yafat Toar itself is a concession to the evil inclination. And more than that, you would imagine if he has literally 400 children, we should hear about it somewhere in Tanakh. We hear that he has 18 wives. We hear that he has 10 concubines, but we don't hear that he has literally 400 kids, right? So 400 children means there's a lot of Yafot Toar. So Hare lo hutra b'milchama ela isha achat. The truth is, the Yeshifat Torah can have one. You can't keep doing it again and again and again. He did the Le'el. V'David HaMelech lacham yudchat milchamot bilvad. He had 18 wars, and the idea that his 18 wives, come from there. That's another idea. Perhaps that it's not exactly so, in as much as there were other wives that he had clearly. Or that among those 18, this is also not the pshat on a certain level. But the point is, to have 400 children means he had way more than 18 wives. It's Very strange. Watch this. Here's what Rav Reuven Margoliot wrote in his Mechkar. Many times you find in Shas, Shayu Katuv, Taf or Shin. It says the letter Taf apostrophe or the letter Shin apostrophe. Vamati Katik, but the copyist wrote down Arbameot or Shloshmeot. But the copyist wrote, instead of the letter Taf or the letter Shin, it wrote the letter, the word 400. Va'avkan, here also, Hayakatuv, Taf Yeladim. Taf Yeladim, you see the letter Taf with a chupchik, with an asterisk, a little apostrophe. Va'kavan Tisha Yeladim. It meant to say 9 children. V'matik nahag betuvat ayin v'katav arba meot. Rav Reuven Margoliot already lives at a time period in the 19th century that's already a printing press for many centuries. But there was a time when you had to copy it out. So the copyist, instead of writing tough apostrophe, wrote arba meot, because that the number tough apostrophe can mean 400 in gematria. But it could also mean tisha yeladim. Now what is shin apostrophe? Quite obviously, if tough apostrophe is 9, what's shin apostrophe?
Is 9. Yeah.
What is it? What's shin? What word? What number is the letter comes from the word shin apostrophe? Not 300. That's the gematria. Expand the word. If tough is tisha, what's
9.
shin?
3.
3, shlosha, or shisha, 6. It's 3 or 6.
Why would
Now
tough?
suddenly, now go back. Oh, so he had this number, and this was the number of children. It's Yoter Savir Lahaniach. So Rav Reuven Margoliot went back. Now, not everyone still agrees with Rav Reuven Margoliot. You could still make the case that no, we're really in a situation of what 400 children, and it's not an exaggeration. He really was incredibly virile, and from all these women, he had 20 children apiece. Yacholiot. Personally, I'm much more with Rav Reuven Margoliot. It also explains that these were the people who were sort of the advanced guard. They went out to the war. And what we take from here, though, is that there are people. One second, Larry, 1 second. There are people. There certainly are people in this story who are not Jewish, who are in the army of David in some way. They're not the actual army, but they're sort of the advanced guard. Larry, you want to say something? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's fine. But I'd understand the argument that shin is shlosha or shisha, but why is tough? Tet is 9.
Because tet is only 9 if it's gematria. But if you write the word tisha, the word tough, shin,
okay. Thank you. Got it. Thank you. Now we understand. Thank you.
Yeah. So, and it computes better. Again, it's a theory of a Reuven Margoliot. You look at any printed shas, it's going to say arba meot. It's going to say 400. So, by the way, if I want it to be from the school that I herald from in Tanakh, if you will, what's the significance of the number 400? Where else is there 400 regarding David HaMelech in the Pshat? There is 400. Remember? It says that David, when he was on the run from Shaul, had with him 400 men. And we talked about the parallel between, 1 second, Karen, David, 400 men, Esav, 400 men, anger, passion, being a person with perhaps who has a ruddy complexion, admoni. Some say red hair, but it's not necessarily so. Admoni means that his skin was ruddy faced. Who's ruddy faced? Esav. Who's ruddy faced? David. But they channel it in different ways. For Esav, it's rage, ruin, thievery, murder, pillaging, raping. But in case of David, no, it's something else. Yeah. So, okay, Karen, you wanted to say? Sorry.
Two quick points. One, I was struck by the difference here where it's saying he leaves with 600 men, and immediately I thought of Saul has his 1,000 and David his 10,000. So it's like you can see how the mighty are falling in the eyes of the people. And the other quick thing, that way in the beginning when you were talking about the father looking at his son, one who killed the other, and how difficult it must be, I hearkened back to the very first father and the very first two, and there's no commentary in the Torah about Adam Harishon and what happens to him after he has one son kill another.
Murky, for sure murky, although the Medrash does describe that Adam Arishon did maintain some kind of a dialogue with his son Cain. He did have some kind of dialogue with him, although remember that David and Adam, excuse me, but then Adam and Chava have another child, Shet. And if you look at the lineage of Cain dies out, and Shet's lineage is the one that we herald from, if you will, as humanity.
Right.
But yeah, not the same
But
thing.
you were describing so much about how David is feeling about all these things. And early on, there's not so much of that.
Yeah. Someone else had a comment before we move on.
Rabbi, it's Helen.
Hi, Helen. Shelley,
a-
you're next. Helen, go ahead.
Okay, I have a very weak explanation, extremely weak. Banim gidalti v'romamti v'hem pashubi. When you say banim, do they have to be actually biological banim? You say ben bias. It could be somehow you adopted, you took care of these people.
Good. Excellent.
And so,
Excellent. Excellent. By the way, I commend your great Bekias that you knew that pasuk at the tip of your, out of your fingertips. Absolutely. But a Ben Torah, a Ben Navi, a Ben Bayit, a Ben Hamelach. So we did talk about that a little bit, and it's possible these 400 children don't have to biologically be, that's true, don't have to biologically be his children as such. And to Shelley's point from before, and I'm going to take Shelley's other comment now, she wrote in before, not just his children, but his sons specifically, as opposed to his daughters. Well, the daughters are not going out to war, right? So were there also daughters? Again, it depends how literally you want to take the idea. There's 400. That number is symbolic. Karen wanted to say one other thing to you about your comment, which is incredibly astute, but also this idea that the 400 plus 200 equals 600. If you look at what's going on by the time David gets to later battles, particularly at Siklag, there is 400 and 200 is already being mentioned. And the split where he leaves the 200 and Siklag takes the 400 with him, there's a whole discussion there. At the end of Shmuel, at the beginning of Shmuel Bet, it does swell from 400 to 600 at some point. But initially, when he's on the run, he's running away with the 400. That's the whole idea. Shelley, you waited patiently.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. In the beginning, we have David praying for a lot of stuff, but we don't have him praying for how he should be king of the country when he's being punished. And I think that that's a fault on his part. And this business with the captured women taken in battle, however it is, what's his excuse for taking Bathsheba? He's not in battle then. So you've got all these people that he's supposedly taking in battle, and he's having possibly all these sons. There have to be a whole bunch of daughters too. It's very problematic to take it.
Yeah, you're okay. Wait, stop. You're raising 2 points. One of those points we're about to get to. I mean, not today, but we're going to get there, which is why didn't David daven, I want to be king, Akadosh Baruch Hu, please make me the king. We touched on that a little bit in the past, particularly last year, that there's a sense that David has of Magiali. This is what's coming to me. I'm getting my just desserts. I did what I did with Bathsheba and with Uriah, and now I'm getting punished. There's another thing. Maybe he doesn't feel worthy of being the king anymore. Although we will see coming up, he's going to take certain steps to try to vouchsafe or at least put pieces in place so that he can perhaps sometime resume his role as the king. So we're going to see that tension that's running throughout this whole story. On your other issue about, well, then what's with Bathsheba? Wait a minute. You and me and everybody on this, we did this. We talked about this for many weeks about the fact that, yeah, there is a juxtaposition between these two features, that if in fact he was taking these Eshet Yifat Toar women on the battlefield personally from his various battles, that gave him this sense of entitlement. That's part of the flaw, part of the problem, part of the chait, is that all these things were bound up with this unbridled passion, but also power. I do because I can. And that's the whole point. The story is teaching us again and again, David doesn't get away with it. He's punished again and again and again and again. And that it turns out there are punishments worse than just dying just like that, just to stay alive and to have to suffer all these things. And we're in the midst of one of those now. So this is what's playing out. And that's, I mentioned this also. Here you have now, here comes his friends. It's almost like This is the Lahavzol Feldot. This is the episode, the retrospective episode of the sitcom where they're going through all the people. I remember this, remember that. So now his friend Itai comes and he tells him, I'm going to stay with you. Go home, Itai. Don't come with me. I'm kryptonite. I'm bad. I'm going down, and you shouldn't be with me now. Now watch what the Radak writes, V'chol Hagitim, in verse 15, about all these people who are going, verse 18 rather, are going with them, right? The Gitim. Says the Radak, Amru ki goyim hayu, v'chein Itai Hagiti, goy haya. He's not Jewish, but says the Radak, u'lefi dati ki Yisraelim hayu, she'imid gorim begat. I think really these are Jews. They just lived in Gat. Ubau atala Ezra David. They came out to help David. V'zeu shamar asher bau beraglo migat, beraglav migat. Because in Perish ba'avuro, they came for his sake. Kimo vayivarach Hashem otam liragli ba'avuri. L'regel is on account of or for the sake of. Ukvar Perish od lamala binyan hagitim bidvar ateret malkam. Right, with regard to the crown of their king, the Tirgem Yonatan, Targem Yonatan writes, "Beraglo Amei Rotzalomar Im Itai Hagiti with Itai Hagiti V'Afal Shalon Iskar Iskar. Even though it doesn't say Yadua Ki Itai Hagiti Aya Rosh L'Sheish Meot Ish Ele." According to what the Radak wants us to understand, this person, Itai Hagiti, is in fact basically in charge of the 600, who it's not the chief of staff of the whole army, but the 600 who are the crack forces, the main, the secret service. He's the main guy. And therefore, that's why it says, Vayovor Itai Hagiti v'chol anashav, all his people. It's the 600. Now, to Shelley's point from a moment ago, if you look at verse 19, he told him, Itai Hagiti was told by David, go be with the king. Im HaMelech. Look at Rashi. Go be with the king. Im Avshalom. David, according to Rashi, by the way, Radak follows suit, has acknowledged and accepted that Itai Hagiti has a new king, and that king's name is Avshalom. And he says the reason you have to go to him now is ki nochri ata. V'nachnu borchim me'ein seda ve'umazon. We're leaving now. We have no food. We have no supplies because the whole thing was so hurried. We don't have time to even bake the matzahs. We're running. We talk shata nochri lotim tzamarachimim. Because you are a foreigner, Itai, when we go places, they'll know who we are, or they'll pity us. They're going to say, but who's this? He's your mercenary? He's not Jewish. Now, by the way, some mercenary. If this is really his mercenary, then look at that. Look at that sense of loyalty that a mercenary should have. Itai Hagiti, and we see here that whether it started as mercenary or not, assuming he was not Jewish, clearly there's a great degree of allegiance. But what does this degree of allegiance, of course, highlight? The fact that perhaps not everyone agrees. Radak says, "I think he's Jewish." The Gemara implies, yes, he must have been because we need the zchut of the avot. Yet maybe not so much, right? It's going back and forth. What does it also tell us? That perhaps it's a non-Jewish person who's having pity upon David. How pathetic. My own son rebels against me. But who gets it? Who loves me? Who tells me that I'm great and I should be the king and they won't leave me and abandon me even in my hour of need? This guy, Itai Hagiti. The family wasn't there for me, but the stranger was the one who came for me. So he tells them, but you ultimately are a foreigner. When we go different places, I'm worried that the people we meet are going to turn on you or not give you any kind of safe harbor. V'gam goleh atam komecha, v'gam im goleh atam im hamelech shencha rotzeh liot imo. Even if you decide to exile yourself, and you're not going to be with King Avshalom because you don't want to show that you're with him at all, so go back to your place. Go back to Gat. Ki lo tov lech chaimi shaharei. Right? Tamol bata. You just came the other day. Relatively speaking, I mean literally yesterday. You came means relatively recently, but you should go back to your place. You've done your national service. you don't have to get swept up in this now. And it's actually, if you take it, one second, if you take it according to the Radak, that actually this individual, Itai Giti, is Rosh L'Sheish Meot Ish Eileh. He's the head of the 600. He's basically dismissing the head of his secret service and all the people who come along in the secret service, meaning David is almost willfully saying, you know what, I'm not going with guards. I'm just going myself. Now, it's not how it plays out. You keep reading, but the point is, you know, in the end, he does relent. In verse 22, after he gives his oath, etc. So he says, okay, so pass by. Now, what's Lech V'Ayavor? So he did come with him in the end, it seems. But David's trying to say to him, I'm bad news. Shelly, go ahead.
It's just like in the story of Ruth. I mean, you know, I can't help but think since David is descended from Ruth, who's a Moabite, here you've got Naomi tries to send her away. She won't go. The same words, you're a foreigner, go back to your people, the same kind of thing. She shows the same kind of loyalty. There's got to be a parallel. I don't know what it is, but
there are parallels. I skipped them for today. We may get back to them sometime, but of course there are parallels. David, the family storybook, the genealogy is of course the story of Megillat Ruth. And it's about showing kindness. And I don't know how regularly they opened the Sefer and read it, you know, in the family circle or in the court. But we know that Shmuel Hanavi is, as far as Chazal are concerned, the author of Sefer Ruth, Megillat Ruth. It takes place in the days of the Shoftim, but it's the story of sometimes kin in Beit Lechem abandon their own. But the daughter-in-law, who was originally a foreigner, who's a righteous convert, right? And is Itai Giti originally Jewish? Or is he not Jewish and he is Michasidei Umot HaOlam? Whatever the case, of course, there's certainly parallels here.
so Elimelech is like Absalom. Or
you could say the people, or you could say David Hamelech, who came from Beit Lechem, where his own family didn't take care of him, and Beit Lechem, the place where Naomi and Ruth go back to live in, where their own people don't take care of them, except for righteous Boaz. You know, also parallel. Yeah. Now let's look at some other pieces here. Let's keep going. The next piece here, Chav Daled, Pasuk Chav Daled, verse 24, back in the Navi. V'hinei gam tzadok v'chol avim ito nosim et aron brit ha'elokim vayatziku et aron ha'elokim vayal Evyatar atom kol ha'am la'avor min ha'ir. Now what happened next? We have tzadok. We have all the Leviim. They're carrying the Aron Brit Hashem. They're taking the Aron Kodesh out of Yerushalayim. However, vayatziku, we'll come to this word in a minute. In the Quran, I see where it says they set it down. We'll see it in a minute. And then it mentions that Evyatar somehow alighted. He left. He departed. He went somewhere else until all the people left the city. Now, Pasuk Chavhei, Vayomer HaMelech Litzadok, Hashev et Aron HaElokim Ha'ir. Bring the Aron Kodesh back to the city. Im emtzachein be'einei Hashem, ve'eshivani v'hirani oto ve'etnaveu. If I find favor in the eyes of Hashem, and he will return me, he will show me again this Aron. And Naveu, it's repository, meaning, remember, a big theme of Sefer Shmuel Bet into Sefer Malachim is David HaMelech's association with the ear, Yerushalayim Yirah Kodesh, right? And that's what's playing out here, right? Everyone sees that, right? Now, hold on. V'im kol yomar lo chafatzti bach, hineni ya'aseli kasher tov be'inav. But if Hashem will say, I no longer desire you, then he'll do whatever is right in his eyes. So now, just this imagery. We know that when the kings went out to battle, we know this, it was happening in Sefer Shmuel Aleph. It's described there, right? When the Aron Kodesh was taken captive, remember, by the Philistines, by the Plishtim. What is David HaMelech saying here? I'm not moving that anymore. It's not coming with me out to battle. I don't feel I'm worthy to keep that right here with me, by my side. When do I take the Aron HaKodesh with me? The Aron Brit Hashem? When I'm going out to battle, representing Hashem, doing what I need to do as the king, but I'm stripped of the basic accoutrements, or in this case, not an accoutrement, but really a source of strength, a potential source of succor and salvation, if you will, meaning the symbolism is, I'm not going to take this with me as some kind of a totem. I'm taking it with me because it represents the notion that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is with me. There's a prayerful dimension to taking it with me. Remember when the people in Sefer Shmuel Aleph deified the Aron Kodesh, they made it about this as some kind of a, God forbid, a talisman. That's why they were punished. That's how, right, the Plishtim got it. Remember that? So now, what happened? Here, David HaMelech declares, I won't take this with me because this is personal. This isn't on the books of what I do professionally. This is now personal. And I don't even know, does Hashem want me doing this anymore to be the king or not? You see, in other words, you see the doubt right here. And I won't traffic in using the trappings of this is some kind of a symbol of me as the king taking the Aron Kodesh with me, lest it be misconstrued that I'm claiming God is on my side. I think it was, what was it, Lincoln in the second inaugural who pointed this out, that both sides in the Civil War claimed that God was on their side. They both, whatever, I'm not American by birth, so I can claim being an Am Haaretz whenever I like about anything having to do with America. I do know who the president is now, though, so that's good. But Lincoln's second inaugural makes this point. They both pray to the same God. They look in the same Bible, right? David HaMelech doesn't want to permit there to be an abuse of the Aron Kodesh. He's brought it to Yerushalayim. That was one of the national goals as the first step toward building the Mikdash. And therefore he leaves it. But more, David HaMelech does not function with a certain, any kind of smugness. I win because I have God on my side. If you look previously in chapter 7, it actually says in the Navi that whatever David does, Hashem is with him. Natan Navi tells him this, right? And then Natan finds out after from Hashem, well, yeah, but he's still not going to build a Beit HaMikdash. And here David parts with the Aron Kodesh. Extremely significant. And if I can pause here for a moment, just say something that sounds homiletic, and maybe you'll accuse me of it being, and I'm admitting that it might be. What does it mean to be in a moment of trial and distress without some of the main physical sources of strength? What does it mean to be in a time when you're asking yourself, why would Hashem create a scenario where the very reality that the value of keeping life intact warrants withdrawing from the very location, Mikdash Ma'at, the shul, the synagogue, the place where we're meant to gather in order to meet HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Not because we can't meet Hashem wherever we go. Okay, yeah. But that's the place that halachically has the Shechina Ishora in the Beit Knesset more so than in other venues. The Sifrei Torah are there. But no, sometimes that's what happens. And we ask ourselves 10 times, that's David HaMelech's struggle. Why? Why is God doing this? He doesn't know. And that you see in these psukim. Pasuk Chafei says to Tzadok, this is what we're going to do. You're going to just take it back to Yerushalayim. Now, in this moment also, there is a shift in personnel. It's a subtle shift. But if you notice, it mentions that Evyatar is there and Tzadok is there. By the by, Tzadok is Tzadok HaKohen, and Evyatar is Evyatar HaKohen. It's almost as if this has been stripped of its titles. And here I want you to see, and we'll go back to the titles issue for a moment right now. Remember what we said last time we learned, just to have to connect the two dots, so with the line. So we saw last time, at the beginning of chapter 15, how Hamelech first had David, and it was awesome between calling David, and then it became Hamelech. Verse 14, or you could say, no, even earlier. I mean, it's going this way from Where is it here? Verse 12, right? We have Yoetz David. We have in verse 13, Vayavo HaMagid El David. We have verse 14, the idea of Vayomer David. Now that's a big contrast to what we saw previously. If you look at the beginning of the end of chapter 14 into chapter 15, where he's called Hamelech each time. Now he's David. But then we have in verse, verse 15, the servants of the king said to the king, whatever the king says, we are your servants. And the king, verse 16, and his whole household left. Verse 17, Vayetze Hamelech, it's Hamelech, Hamelech, Hamelech. The king said to Itai Agiti, why do you come with us? Right? But what did the king say? The king said, go be with the king. Verse 19. Who's really the king now? The king or the king? So the narration of Sefer Shmuel Bet, the Navi who wrote the Sefer, tells us the king is David. But how does David speak? The king is Avshalom now. I've been replaced. And what does Itai Agiti say to respond? Vayan Itai Agiti El Hamelech. V'chei Hashem v'chei Adoni Hamelech. Right? So here we have Hamelech. What is verse 22? Vayomer David El Itai. But he kept them as David. So the oscillation is very important. Now, why do I mention all of that again? We're sort of rehashing it. Verse 24, also Tzadok, no title. Also Evyatar, no title. They're coming with the Aron Brit Hashem, and the king says to Tzadok, you go back to the city, right? And hopefully I'll be Zocha to go back there. And if Hashem doesn't want me to do this anymore, he doesn't want me anymore, he'll do whatever is good in his eyes. It's both in Pasuk 25. It's Emunah and Bitachon. Hashem, I hope you'll bring me back there. And verse 26, it's Tziduk Hadin. This Magiali, if Hashem doesn't want me, I justify God's judgment. I'm making both an Ani Mamin in verse 25 and a Baruch Dain Abbas in verse 26. But when you get to the next verse 27, Vayomer HaMelech El Tzadok HaKohen Haro'eh Ata Shuva Ha'ir B'Shalom V'chimatz Bincha V'Yonatan Ben Atar Shnei V'nechem Itchem. I'm pausing there. I know it's really the middle of a sentence, but it's the king commanding Tzadok HaKohen, go back to the city. Don't you see that this is how it should be? And you'll take with you your son and the son of Evyatar as well. Karen, you want to say something? Unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this not also a political statement? David is also saying Jerusalem is headquarters for Torah. Okay, my son can be setting it up over there, but I can't take it other places. That's where it is. That's where it is.
Right, exactly. And by the way, that also explains why when you open up the book of Tehillim to chapter 3, you remember in chapter 3, we have this verse that is about the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And the mountain is the holy mountain of God. I put it on the screen. Save time. Kol el Hashem ekra, kol el Hashem ekra, vayanin mehar kodsho sela. He will answer me from his sacred mountain. Where's David when he says these words? He's on Har Hazeitim, or thereabouts, the Mount of Olives. He's facing it. He is the first person to be exiled from Yerushalayim, and the first person then who davens in the direction of Yerushalayim. Now watch this. Because in these few psukim, Chazal teach us that actually there was also a transfer of who's going to be the Kohen Gadol. It was not a rebellion or insurrection, but there was a replacement. Says the Gemara Masechet Yuma, Kol Kohen she'eino medaber beruach hakodesh u'shechina sorah alav ein shoalin lo. Any Kohen who does not speak with divine inspiration and who has the divine presence dwelling upon him, we don't ask the Urim V'Tumim through them. Remember, Urim V'Tumim is the breastplate. It's called the Choshen Mishpat. And according to some of the Mefarshim, it's actually some kind of a parchment with the name of God written on it, some combination of the letters that form one of the names of God. It's placed in the fold of the garment that Kohen Gadol wears. The king faces the Kohen Gadol. The king asks questions. The Kohen Gadol gets Ruach HaKodesh, and the Kohen Gadol looks down and sees either the letters popping out or combining. Some say they light up, hence the word Urim, right? That there were lights. Not clear what those lights mean. Literally like electric lights, like everyone could see them glowing. That's not clear. But something was sticking out or somehow distinguished for the king, for the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. And the Kohen Gadol, the Tumim, according to some, means he then knew how to arrange the letters to spell whatever was meant to be the response. When did the Kohen get asked questions by the king, among other reasons, regarding war? So anytime, so that's what happened here. Sharei shal tzadok ve'altalo, Evyatar v'lo altalo. They asked the question using tzadok. It worked. With regard to Evyatar, it didn't work. Shenamar, as it says, Vayal Evyatar ad tom kol ha'am. Vayal Evyatar, he went up, means also he went up from his job. He left. Writes the Marsha. This didn't happen right now at this moment. Evyatar v'lo altalo, kvar b'masat siklagu ki'ila haya shoel David al yedei Evyatar, kimafurish bakra. Vaya az medaber b'ruach HaKodesh. At that time, when David would ask of the Urim V'Tumim, the Kohen Gadol was Evyatar. He wore it on his as the breastplate, the Choshim Mishpah with the Urim V'Tumim. And we see there that David did ask. We have actually, it's in Sefer Shmuel. It describes, right, that he's asking, should I go up or not? We saw the Gemaras on that previously. El Deme'achshav Nistalig Mimenu Ruach HaKodesh. Evyatar, one second. Evyatar lost his divine inspiration. So what does David do? He says, Tzadok, you still have your Ruach HaKodesh. Go back to Yerushalayim. Don't be with me now. Wouldn't you want to have with you the exact means of getting the transmission, if you will, of questions you want asked of HaKadosh Baruch Hu? But David is getting rid, almost as if he's pushing everything away, because having those things with him gives him the sense that he's in God's good graces. And his narrative, I think, already is Magil. He's calling out Avshalom the king. You want to say it's tactical? I'm not so sure. Look at what's going on in Tehillim chapter 3. Look at the way there's crying. You're going to see the weeping, the crying, etc. Look how quick he is to withdraw from Yerushalayim. There might have been pragmatic reasons, but there's also very impractical reasons. They have to do much more with. This is the punishment that I was told. I'm not going to die. What's going to happen? I'm going to witness the naches, quotation marks, the naches that my son is becoming the king. Yeah, not like this, but that's exactly what's happening. Shelley, please go ahead.
Okay, well, this shows in some ways the greatness of David, because he's remembering what the Navi in Shmuel says way back about the Kohen Gadol leaving the sons of Eli after the business with the Plishtim capturing the ark, that it will go to the other branch of the Kohanim, but it doesn't go right away like you would think it would. So this is quite a distance later that it's going, and David is recognizing this, and he's in a sense it's going to show his great emunah in Hashem, that even years and years later, whatever the Navi said, whatever God says through the Navi is going to happen. And so he's saying, I see that we're getting a new Kohen Gadol, and I'm going to wait and see what Hashem says about whether I'm king or whether Avshalom's king.
And he does not know.
There's the greatness of David.
Well said. Thank you. Yes, indeed. I think all, by the way, not just this moment, but everything here is, to me, it just speaks to the greatness of David. It doesn't play well as a soundbite. David's really great because he withdrew from Yerushalayim instead of staying and fighting. But I think that speaks to his greatness. We talked about that last time. The fact that he tells Itagiti, go home. It's going to be dangerous for you. You know, I got to run. The fact that he doesn't want to keep the Aron Kodesh. It seems so obvious that the person who has the Aron Kodesh, who controls where the Aron Kodesh goes, so to speak, is in God's good graces. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want to give that signal. He doesn't feel worthy of it. Now look at the Malbim. Can we go a little further in the Malbim because we're running out of time? I want to see the Malbim together. Let's look at the Malbim. We'll take more questions in a couple minutes. The Malbim. Vayomer HaMelech El Tzadok. Shav ve'amari lav. Shegam hu yashuv v'yishaer ba'ir. You should go home. Umashikatuv haroeata, when he said to him, don't you see? Ratzalomar shaloyia nira ki'ilu hayazeh bifkurati, rakilu atava'atzmecha re'itu v'chartakach. I want it to be, says David, when you go back to Yerushalayim, it shouldn't be construed that I commanded you to do this, but that you saw this on your own. Why? For your own protection. L'ma'an lo tachshad be'einei Avshalom. You won't be suspected. Now, the next words we're going to read are going to throw a big monkey wrench into everything I've said till now. But I want to show you that it's David is living with emunah and bitachon, but it doesn't mean he's living with passivity. He doesn't take any steps. He still wants to know what's going on, but he's not going to find out what's going on through the v'tumim. Rather, he's asking them to be spies. You'll tell me what's going on in the city. Now, if you want to read this as, with one hand, he's davening and he's shuckling and he's looking heavenward and he's crying, but the other hand, he's saying, how am I going to get back in? That's one way of viewing it. I don't know that that's necessarily true. It sounds more like I want to at least have eyes and ears on what's going on, because you know what I can't do now? I can't ask the Urim V'Tumim. Keep going in this Radak. Let's see what happens. Valzot Amar V'Achimatz Bincha Ad Bo Daberi Machem. That's further along where it actually will describe that Achimatz and Yonatan ben Evyatar. What a name. Yehonatan. Not Yonatan ben Shaul, but Yonatan ben Evyatar. We'll come back to that later. That's an obvious one right there. It's the same name. Again, did someone invent that? These are not fictitious characters. That actually literally was his name. But wow, what an unbelievable parallel. Yehonatan and Yehonatan. These two young lads or younger people, Achimatz and Yehonatan ben Evyatar, are going to be the runners who are going to bring the information. But don't think it necessarily means so that we can mount some kind of a defense. It's more to figure out, okay, what's really going on here. Now, the Chazal, we just saw that Chazal, they explained, Vayal Aviatar Hainu She'alav Nislik Min HaKahuna, Mipnei Shishal B'Urim V'Tumim V'Lo Al Talo, U'Chafi Darkam Nir'eh, Shema Shekatu Vayatziku Et Aron Elokim. When it says Vayatziku, they set down the Aron of Hashem, but Salamar Sheitzigu Oto, they presented it, Heitzik and Heitzig, Kuf and Gimel, sometimes interchangeable in the Hebrew language, actually sound the same part of your throat, G and K. So Sheitzigu Oto Kedei Lishol B'Urim V'Tumim, Shaya Kohen Omeid Lifnei Aaron. In order to effect the Urim V'Tumim, wasn't enough to wear the breastplate, you also had to stand in front of the Aaron. But what happened? Vayal Aviatar. Hanu She'ala El Aaron Lishol. He went up, according to the Radak, not he went up from his job, but he went up means in levels of Kedusha, to be able to stand next to the Aaron in order to make this request. V'zenim shach ad tom kol ha'am. And he waited while everyone's passing, Evyatar HaKohen, wearing the choshen, looking down, the king is facing him and asking him till everyone left. Ki lo ne'ena. He was not answered. V'nishar ha'aron omeid. V'az v'yomer ha'melech l'tzadok, shehu yishal b'urim v'tumim. That's why it play pass to the next player. Because David HaMelech should ask a question of the Urim V'Tumim using Evyatar HaKohen in the presence of the Aron Kodesh, and there's no response. Why isn't Hashem answering me now? We would say today, in a historic sense, we would sort of just use the throw, sometimes it's bandied about much too loosely, Hester Panim. God's hiding himself from me, he's not answering now. But watch what Radak does with this. V'nei melech nistapek, im lo ne'ena machma she'otziu ha'aron, sorry. V'nei ha'melech nistapek. Is the problem that he took it out of Yerushalayim, or is the problem Evyatar? That's why he spoke to Tzadok and not Evyatar. What did he tell him? Go back to Yerushalayim and take the Aron Kodesh with you. And therefore go back, and when you go back to Yerushalayim, what are you going to do? Why is he sending Tzadok home? Go home, protect yourself and say you did it for your own reason. But I want you, Tzadok, to ask a question of the Urim V'Tumim in Yerushalayim about what is going on here. And I want you to send your two sons and tell me what Hashem said. You follow? Ve'ata, and now, Be'er Masha Shal B'Urim V'Tumim. Now we understand what it is that David was asking of the Urim V'Tumim. What did he ask? Shaita sheila im yatzliach. Will I be successful? Ve'od yeshuv Yerushalayim, and he'll come back to Yerushalayim. O lo, or will he not come back to Yerushalayim? V'zeh shekatav shtishal yimtzachein b'nei Hashem. That's what it means. They should ask, right? Do I find favor in the eyes of Hashem? Look at verse 25. Here's how Radak reads it. The king said to Tzadok, return the Aron of Hashem to the city and ask the following question. Do I find favor in the eyes of Hashem and that he will give us an opportunity, give me an opportunity to see it again and its place? But if so, will say Hashem, I do not desire you, then he'll do whatever he wants to me. According to the Radak, these words are actually what Tzadok should ask Hashem and what he should think about in terms of the response. Veheshivani, back in the Radak now. Rotzalomar az yashiv li atshuva, ki irani at Aaron vet naveu. Aval, however, im koyomar, if he'll say the following, i.e., that I'm not going to come back because he doesn't want me anymore, so then it's finished. If that'll be the answer, so that's it. That'll be the end, and I'm lost. What was the answer? I taught Shuvah shel Urim V'Tumim, Shuvah ir b'shalom, shotiyot ela baltu min Urim V'Tumim. V'David otzim mizet Shuvah kolelet al kol inyanehem. Sorry, I told you this whole thing is the Radak. I'm going to see the Malbim. Sorry, I'm using the wrong person. Forgive me. This is all the Malbim explaining. I've said Radak the last 10 minutes. I just looked up. It's Malbim. I'm sorry. Very little sleep I'm working on still. So when he heard this, he got two answers. Av, sheyashuv leveto, shalzeh shalo. The fact that the answer came back, you have to do shuva ir b'lashon sivui, come back. The egg sheramzulo, shehakohen yashuv ha'ir. V'zeh shekatav haro'eh ata. Meaning, Rotzalomar, hareita al otiyot ha'ifod. Shekatuv bahen eila hamilot, shuva ir b'shalom. V'lachein shuva kafi she'anu ha'urim v'tumim, v'chimatz, etc. In other words, according to the Malbim, the fact that it said go back to the city in a command. Look at verse 27, Malbim. But verse 27, look in the Psukim. There's a pause after verse 26. What's in verse 27? Pasuk Chav Zayin. Why is there a pause? The same speech, same conversation. It says the Malbim, basically, you know what's in that pause? Right here, the question is being asked of the Urim V'Tumim. By who? By Tzadok HaKohen. Vayomer HaMelech El Tzadok HaKohen. Haro'e'ata. Haro'e'ata, not like we saw before, for your own protection, go home. That was on top here in the Malbim. But rather, don't you see with your eyes what the Urim V'Tumim are saying? What is the Urim V'Tumim saying? Shuva ir b'shalom. Go back in the city in peace. Now go back. And that's the response, right? You should go home. Now, why didn't David take this message for himself? Because he still doesn't know if it's about himself. Because going back to Yerushalayim right now is pretty dangerous for reasons we talked about in the previous shir. Now, when you look at the next psukim, go to verse 28 now, you'll see this discussion as it plays out. Right? Verse 28, V'ru anochi mitmamea be'arvot hamidbar ad bo davar minachem lagid li. I'm going to wait there and you give me the news. What's the news? You have to ask Turim B'Tumim again, like when and how, etc., and what's going on politically. So then it describes, Vayashev Tzadok ve'Eviatar et Aaron Elokim Yerushalayim vayeshvu sham. They stopped there. V'David Oleb Ma'alei Zaitim. That's right. That's Har Zaitim, Mount of Olives. You saw the video last week, right? Oleh uvocheh. He's crying. V'rosh lo chafui. His head is covered, but in the sense that he's aggrieved. He's wrapped up in the way of mourners. V'olech yachev. He's barefoot. Everyone's crying and weeping. Right? Now, we're stopping here. We won't see any more psukim today, but look with me at the Radak, the following. You'll see a little piece from Amnon Bazak. I'm here, Radak, bottom of the page, or bottom of the screen for you. Radak. Vayal Aviatar. Lefi Pshat Katuv, Yireh Ki Perush Vayal Aviatar Nistalek L'tzad Echad Ima Aaron Ad Tom Kol Ha'am. The Pshat is he stood on the side while everybody passed. It was like an honor guard. La'avor min ha'ir, to leave. Ratzlom Yerushalayim. Avro Ten Zal Kiblu Ki Be'oto Hayom Nistalek Aviatar Me'akuna Gedola Vichnisot Tzadok Tachtav. Vareni Otov Et Naveu. Right, and the Tzadok became the king, the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. Vareni Otov Et Naveu. Habayit Shaya Sham Aaron. Perush oto sheyeshivani lavato v'yachpotz bi ki atem belakcho onesh. Oh no, avono hayam ruchak mimenu. Right, he's getting his punishment now. So he's very far away. Ki adam shemali meinav misono ve'eno roehu. He doesn't see his enemy. He's moving away. Yoter tingreim Vayachazineni kadmui ve'eflach kadmui beveit mikdashaya. I'll be able to daven again in the Beit Mikdash. Obviously, it doesn't mean literally Beit Mikdash. It means in the place, in the mountain of Hashem's sanctuary, right? But what do you see here? The concept that, again, David is taking it as this is what Hashem wants from me. Here's in closing for today, Rav Amnon Bazak. Rav Amnon Bazak. We're out of time. So here's Rav Amnon Bazak. This is the English translation of Amnon Bazak, and here's the link. If you want to look it up after, it's on the Har Etzion website. It's important to emphasize that these two elements, they are not contradictory, and that they express a fundamental idea regarding the relationship between providence and free choice. David is mentally prepared for any scenario, and he accepts God's judgment and acknowledges the justice of anything that will befall him. But this mental state does not lead him to passivity. David is able and must do everything in his power to save himself with the belief that Avshalom's rebellion, the temporary trouble, will eventually pass. In short, David acts below here on earth, while the same is prepared to accept whatever is decreed against him above. It's not one or the other, it's both. You want to put it in modern terminology, it's staying home and davening. It's going to try to treat people in a hospital and saying Tehillim for Misha Berach. It's Tzahal guarding Israel's borders and making sure to Lake Tefillin. It's and. Yeah, it's all these different things. It's both of these things. And David HaMelech, both. Siduk Hadin, whatever Hashem you bring me, I'm going to do it. And at the same time, I hope there'll be a better outcome. And I'm davening for it. These two things are not contradictory one with the other. Who lived that way? David Malka Mashiach. Who wrote our Siddur? David Malka Mashiach. Sefer Tehillim is a Siddur of David ben Yishai. And that's the idea of these sections as well. Now, what we'll have to see as we go to next week is to try to understand there's another thing that happens here that is a depth crisis that David HaMelech possibly encounters. We're going to see that further along, not for today. We're out of time for today. And also this idea that the most grief that he had on a personal level in terms of betrayal, oddly enough, is not going to be Avshalom at the moment, but someone else. We won't have time to see that today, but hopefully that is enough to bring you back next week. Same time, same channel. Adkan for today, everybody. Thanks very much. Have a great day.